Straight ahead on BNC Prime Weekend, COVID-19 continues to be a hot button topic as we move closer to the November election. Could this new surge affect the presidential race? Religious leaders joining forces to discuss voter suppression in the black community. We'll hear their thoughts. And it's a first in U.S. history as Pope Francis appoints the nation's first black cardinal. BNC Prime Weekend starts right now. We are now just 8 days away from the November election, and unfortunately, it's a reminder that we're nowhere near the final days of this pandemic. There are more than 42 million coronavirus cases around the world, with more than 8 million confirmed cases in the U.S. Good evening, and thanks for joining us here on BNC Prime Weekend. I'm Brittany Jones. This weekend, the U.S. marked the highest one-day number of COVID-19 infections at nearly 84,000. Britt Conway has a look at how this new surge could impact the presidential race.
We are just entering the darkest days of this pandemic.
And with just days until the election, the surge in COVID-19 cases we're seeing, and will continue to see, comes at a critical time in the race to the White House.
This is coming at exactly the wrong time for President Trump.
Reed Wilson, a national correspondent for The Hill and author of the book Epidemic, says the case count is a constant reminder.
This virus is still here 10 months later, and the administration has not gotten its hand around it. I think President Trump wants Americans to accept that the coronavirus is going to become endemic. It's going to circulate widely among the populace for many years, just like the flu does.
So Wilson thinks the president will continue to downplay the virus and the case count.
You know why we have cases? Because we test so much. And in many ways, it's good. And in many ways, it's foolish.
And CNN political analyst Michael Shear says he'll also be looking to shift the conversation away from the virus.
The president and his aides recognize that's the biggest single threat to his chances of re-election. And, you know, he's desperate, I think, to change the subject.
Which has already happened. But it gives Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden a chance to lean in and tout his plan for the pandemic.
We're so much better than this. We can bring back this economy. It starts with my plan to deal with this pandemic responsibly, bringing the country around to testing and tracing and masking, social distancing, not politicizing the race for a vaccine.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
Vice President Mike Pence is on the campaign trail today despite two of his staffers testing positive for the coronavirus. Mark Short, the chief of staff to the vice president, is reportedly in quarantine after receiving his COVID-19 results. Even though Short works with the U.S. coronavirus response, he is rarely seen wearing a mask. He's been assisting in the contact tracing process and will stay off the campaign trail. Pence's senior political advisor, Marty Obst, also tested positive for COVID. According to the press office, Vice President Pence and his wife Karen both tested negative for the virus Saturday. Vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris says Pence should be following guidelines.
They're suggesting to the American people that this is like the flu, when we have known from the beginning, and they knew since January, that it's 5 times more deadly than the flu. Here in Michigan alone, over 3,000 new cases just yesterday. This week alone nationally, we are breaking records for the number of people that are contracting a deadly virus. And this administration fails to take personal responsibility or responsibility in terms of leading the nation through this dangerous and deadly mass casualty event. And that's why they have forfeited their right to a second term in office.
As we inch closer to the election, various organizations have called out government leaders on voter suppression about making it tougher for folks to vote. Those thoughts certainly on the minds of two reverends we spoke to tonight. Dr. Emmett Price and Reverend Irene Monroe discuss voter suppression on their All Revved Up podcast, and they break down why they're pushing their congregations to vote.
Irene and Emmett, we really appreciate you joining us today. So you guys are basically running this thing. Y'all have All Revved Up podcast talking about a number of issues every week. And so one of the things that I heard this week was you talked about voter suppression. So why was it so important for you all to hold a conversation like this one at a time like this?
Well, okay.
Well, go on, Irene, go on.
Well, I was just going to say that one of the things that we try to, well, how we define our podcast is really that we look at faith at the intersection of politics and culture. And so it would really, and what we try to do, we try to challenge really what we would describe as hegemonic as well as heteronormative assumptions about Blackness. And while we are ministers, one of the things that ministers do is that, you know, if we were in our church, we function as church ministers in a different venue where of course we would talk about voter suppression. It's, you know, it started since 1619, you know, and people have to understand this, that the party that controls the vote controls the country, as well as if our votes didn't matter, why would they be trying to take it away from us?
You know, one of the things that we love, and we're both educators, so we're both ministers, we're also educators, and we're really involved in both philanthropy, but also just, you know, in the life of the city. That's and right. So it makes sense as we realize that so many people don't know the history. You know, no matter what ethnicity, no matter what nationality, there's so much history that's not taught. So we leverage our podcast to not only bless the people with a word of inspiration, a word of hope, but also to inform the people with information, with the hope that we can mobilize people to be good civically engaged participants in this democracy. And so,
yeah.
You know, go on.
No, I was going to say, and as you know, Brittany, you know, in church, we would be in our pulpits talking about the importance of voting, talking about how John Lewis gave his life to vote, you know, and how that you know 1965 Voting Rights Act was important then as it is now.
And what message do you all hope to send with that? I mean, you talk about this being a podcast that a number of folks are listening to, and when they heard that today or this week, are you talking about voter suppression? What message did you hope that sent to them?
Well, I think that the thing about voter suppression is it's part of our history, and history is not necessarily an indicator of the future. So the more that we know what has happened in the past, the more we can have a influential and opportunity to change it. We need to be the change that we desire to see rather than waiting for other people to swoop in and save us.
Right. And what we also are saying is that the power of the people, far greater than the people in power, and that we will, as I say, we will fight until hell freezes over, and then we will fight on the ice, because our vote is important in order to have an inclusive and participatory democracy. We are fighting for the existential life, not only of ourselves, but of this country.
Oh, great advice there. Well, we've got continuing coverage of the big races happening across the country, those that affect both the black and brown communities. In Houston, Texas, a congressional seat for the 9th District is up for grabs. And joining us now is Libertarian candidate Jose Sosa, who's running against Democratic Representative Al Green. Jose, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So, Jose, what made you run for this seat, and what are you hoping to do if you get into Congress?
Well, I'm from Cuba, so I know what happens when government gets too big and too noisy. So, and I see it happen here in the United States. I think it's really concerning the turn that this country is taking. So we need to step up and try to take back our country and, you know, start limiting that government.
And so talk about how important it is to have Hispanic representation in Congress and why.
It is really important to have representation abroad. Every sector should be represented in Congress, because laws are made in Congress. And if we don't have representation there, you know, basically what we're gonna see is what is happening now. You see an ongoing dealing with immigration and many other things that, you know, that I think is happening because we don't have enough representation in Congress. If we will have more Hispanic and more African American people in Congress, I think we'll see more of the issues that affect our communities being brought to the floor.
So you're running against someone who has been in office for, I think, about 8 terms now. What do you think it's going to take in order for you to beat him?
It's going to take close to a miracle. But, hopefully the people see in me a real change. And one of the things that I'm bringing is that I would like to see term limits for Congress as well. We see how well it works for the presidency, and I think it's time to apply that as well in Congress. I think after 8-10 years for you to be in that seat, if you haven't done a real change, I think it's time for you to step down and leave that seat for someone that really wants to make a change. And that's what I bring, and that's the message that I'm bringing, and that's what I will, I tell the voters, give me the opportunity so we can make a real change in Washington, especially with term limits and a new era of new candidates that really are going to look after the people.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jose, for joining us tonight. Good luck with your race. And of course, we here at BNC has reached out to his opponent, and we are waiting to hear back.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, President Trump signed pumpkins and hats as he chatted with supporters in the northeastern state of Maine. He joked with cheering supporters, many not wearing protective masks or observing social distancing recommendations. Trump hopes to win one or more of the state's 4 electoral votes. Republicans are mobilizing thousands of volunteers to watch early voting sites and ballot drop boxes leading up to November's election, part of an effort to find evidence to back up Trump's unsubstantiated complaints about widespread voter fraud. And residents of Los Angeles cast their ballots at some of the most iconic arenas in California. Places such as the Staples Center, home of the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Hollywood Bowl. Voters who turned out say it was a quick and easy process.
Just to beat the crowds, because, coming early, it's a benefit for me because, I work and I might not be able to take that time off to actually vote on the voting day. And it's going to be crowded.
Yeah.
That day. So to come in early is a big advantage.
Big advantage.
And the Black News Channel will have extensive election night coverage starting at 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, November 3rd. We'll deliver live reports from Philadelphia and New York to Los Angeles. We'll bring you the races that most affect the Black community, along with vote counts in key battleground states. We'll also be following the Congressional Black Caucus members up for re-election and, of course, the results of the presidential race. The Black News Channel and My Vote 2020 will be your source for accurate election night results. Join us November 3rd starting at 7 p.m. Eastern here on BNC. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The Senate will move forward to confirm Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Senators met today for part 2 of a weekend session. Take a look.
Setting the stage for confirmation.
The Senate is doing the right thing. We're moving this nomination forward, and colleagues, by tomorrow night, we'll have a new member of the United States Supreme Court.
In a rare weekend session to debate the nomination of President Trump's Supreme Court pick, Amy Coney Barrett, the Senate voted largely along party
policy.
The Senate will reconvene Monday to hold the final vote to confirm, just 8 days before the election. I'm Britt Conway reporting.
Coming up on BNC Sports, our James Hill has an exclusive interview with a former HBCU student athlete turned basketball coach. How his career is helping shape the lives of others on the basketball court.
Okay, Brittany and everyone, it's currently 27 degrees in St. Paul, and you see that snow along the interstate. Will you see any more snow in the Twin Cities? I have the details with your forecast coming up after the break.
Exciting news here. A Washington, D.C. Archbishop is now ordained cardinal, making him the first black cardinal in the United States. Archbishop Wilton Gregory will be elevated to cardinal in an official ceremony on November 28th. Gregory took on the role of Archbishop last year after his predecessor, Cardinal Donald Wuerl, resigned after being accused of mishandling cases of sexual abuse. Pope Francis has declared support for same-sex civil unions for the first time during his tenure as pontiff. He made the declaration in a documentary film called Francesco, released in Rome on Wednesday. In the film, the Pope reportedly said, quote, homosexual people have a right to be in a family. They're children of God and have a right to have a family. He then called for the creation of civil union laws. Francis's comments represent a departure from the position of his predecessors, John Paul II and Pope Benedict XVI, who were against the legalization of same-sex unions.
Well, New Orleans, you're currently dry and 71 degrees, but things will start to go downhill, especially on Wednesday and with a passage of Zeta. I have those details coming up in a few minutes.
In international news, an update now to that deadly school shooting in Cameroon. A 12-year-old girl has died from her injuries after being shot inside her school. Investigators say several gunmen stormed the school in the southwest region of Cameroon on Saturday. 7 children are dead and 12 are injured. A mother of a 12-year-old wounded in the attack described the scene.
When I heard the gunshot, we hit ourselves. Then later on, I have to run to the house, in front of the house. Then I heard one boy was saying that, hey, look at blood coming out from that child. It's behind the school that they were shooting, so I had to run, open the door and run. And I saw my daughter coming. She was crying. She was coming back from the school. As I was going, I just met her on the way. She was crying, mommy, mommy. She held her stomach like that. So I just ran to the child and carried the child. One boy just came like that and took the child from me and run, take the bike and run to the general hospital.
Just an awful story there. A man who was injured while protesting against police brutality in Lagos, Nigeria, may lose his leg. 24-year-old Lekan Falye was at the Lagos toll gate last Tuesday when military police opened fire on protesters. Falye's guardian says it was painful seeing a young boy of his age suffer.
They told me that they are going to amputate the leg. And I was like, is there nothing they could do about it? Until I get there to see the level of damage on the leg. Now with what I've seen, I just have to give up concerning it now. It's a very painful issue. Very, very painful issue. A young boy of his age.
Amnesty International says police killed about a dozen people. The Army has denied soldiers were at the site of the shooting. Switching gears now, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Smith joining me now. Kevin, what's going on back here in the U.S.?
Well, in the middle of the nation, talking about weather delivering rain, sleet, and snow. I sound more like a postal worker, right?
Oh, yeah.
Let's take a look right now what's happening with our tower cam on this Sunday evening. We're traveling toward the Crescent City. We're dealing with those temperatures into the 70s. Enjoy that sunshine on your Monday.
Welcome back. We're back for another Entrepreneur Sunday. Each week, we shine the spotlight on the brightest Black entrepreneurs across the country. Tonight's guest has created an organic solution to a natural problem in women. I'm talking about sweating places, ladies, where you do not want to see it. Brittany Glass takes us inside of her line, Sweet Sweat Cosmetics. Brittany Glass, thank you so much for joining us for Entrepreneur Sunday to talk about your Sweet Sweat Cosmetics.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
And Brittany, one of the first things we do as women when they get home after a hard day's work is get rid of the bra. Breast sweat is an issue for many women and sometimes leads to irritation and in some cases embarrassing odor. People just don't like it. Walk us through your Sweet Sweat journey to starting your company and tell us what led you to developing your unique line of products.
Okay, well, I started this idea actually 15 years ago when I was in high school. And then I noticed I was actively sweating in the breast area. And it was really funky and I didn't know what to do. My grandmother was like, girl, stick some cod liver oil right there, put some baking soda. So I tried many different hacks that didn't work to, keep the odors at bay. So 15 years later, I said, hey, I'm going to do it. I started researching natural ingredients. I started testing products on myself and also hiring a company to do testings as well. So I finally finished on a recipe that actually worked for me. So once I figured that out, I came up with the name Sweet Sweat. And I went into production and it's been working. I've been in business for a year and it was finally something that worked for me. Like I can put one application on during the morning and I smell fresh all day, or I can come home from the gym and I still smell good.
Wow. I mean, that has to be a blessing there because like I said, that's not something that anybody likes to deal with. So there are other products on the market to help with these issues. What sets your line apart from the competition?
I think for me, it's my passion and dedication. Like I have a firsthand experience with this issue, dealing with breast sweat odors, dealing with irritation, dealing with funguses right there. So I'm really dedicated to putting products out for women who are suffering from the same thing, and also using natural ingredients that people know that they have at home. And that they recognize, to help with this issue.
And Brittany, you talk about making us smell good all day, which is very important. You like to offer variety. What scents do you offer in your line and how did you come up with them?
So my family's from the Caribbean, so I love tropical scents. So I have poppin' pineapple, which smells amazing. I have pumpkin, which is my favorite. If you like caramel and pumpkin pie, then that's your go-to. I have apple fantasy. I have luscious strawberry. And there's also an unscented scent for individuals who are a little bit more sensitive to fragrances, which works just as good as the scented ones.
Sounds like you want to be like eating something off yourself all day.
Walk and I'm like, what is that? And then I'm sniffing myself because it's me.
All right, well, Sweet Sweat Cosmetics also believes in building generational wealth in the Black community. Tell us about your commitment to helping women become successful entrepreneurs.
Yes, I'm very committed. I started from the ground up. My family was poor. So I started, once I came with this idea when I was 15, which why it took me 15 years because I started saving to get there so I could have the finances to fund the business. So since I started this business, I started a mentorship program. It is completely free. People, women of color, children, because my little sister, she's an entrepreneur too, so she works with me. So we have people who reach out to us who aren't sure how to get started with the business. So we help them for free. We help guide them, towards their steps. We help map out a plan on how to get the business up and running.
I love that. Love that. Well, lastly, Brittany, where can people find you? Our viewers are going to want to know this afterwards because people want to be smelling sweet.
They can visit our website at Sweet Sweat Cosmetics, and I'm also inside Simply Wholesome in Los Angeles, and I'm also working on some major distribution deals, so hopefully I'll be in a Target or a Walmart pretty soon.
Awesome. Well, we're going to speak that into existence for you, Brittany Glass. Thank you so much for your time today, and we're wishing your business all the success.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Still to come on BNC Prime Weekend, James Hill has NFL game highlights. Plus, what basketball player will be crowned King of the Hill? Our James Hill has your BNC Sports after the break.
All players in the world on planet Earth. Giannis Antetokounmpo is our BNC King of the Hill. Also, he will be a free agent after the season, and there are a lot of teams out there who would love to have him in camp. They would love to give him a jersey and a bag of money and say, help us win a championship.
And to already have that type of career and still have so much left in him, where you see him going?
Must be nice.
Oh, James, what's one of your favorite moments? You got to think back to what, the finals?
Definitely the finals. The LA Lakers, they got it done. You know, I'm basically neutral, so I just report objectively.
I know.
But I like all the great players, and we really enjoy covering it, Anthony and myself. And, yeah, I mean, there's some really good teams out there, and we'll keep you posted.
Hey, you told us to say it 4 times last time. Antetokounmpo.
Giannis, Giannis, Giannis.
All right, thank you there, James. We're going to take a look at your weather with Kevin. Kevin.
Now, Brittany, did James say hot as barbecue? You said that right?
Barbecue?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Hey, Dallas, you're cool as a cucumber at 59 degrees. And you're going to be cooling down even more. Final check of your forecast after the break. Gulfport, Biloxi into Mobile will be feeling the effects of this storm system once again Wednesday into Thursday. We'll keep you updated on that.
Those folks can't seem to catch a break. It's always going in that area.
I know. Always Louisiana.
Yes, our prayers go out to Louisiana.
You got that right.
Well, talking about heating up that you mentioned somebody, 29-degree weather. No. Well, versus battle lovers, you are in for another treat. Since earlier in the spring, Swiss Beats and Timbaland has been keeping us entertained through the COVID-19 pandemic. The program's second season debut will feature Atlanta legends T.I. and Jeezy. I can't say it without saying it, sorry. The two rap legends will battle it out on November 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Since the battles have started, we've heard from big names like Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight.
They were stirring it up.
Monica and Brandy on season 1. Needless to say, that season 2 is highly anticipated. Both T.I. and Jeezy will be performing some of their greatest hits throughout their careers to determine who's the true king of ATL. Who you think will win it?
Probably Jeezy.
You think Jeezy? Me too.
Yeah, I'm feeling Jeezy.
Why?
I just got that feeling. You know, I got the feeling. There you go.
Yeah, it's like the hits that I know I really like from T.I. and both Jeezy, but it's just some of them, like, automatically certain ones just come to my head.
I know. And we were talking about potential versus battles, and I was mentioning between the shows, maybe we can get Anthony Hamilton and Music to do one.
Okay.
So Anthony Hamilton, come on.
We're calling you out. You make the request.
That's right.
Yeah.
I said Anita Baker earlier, but yeah. Anita Baker and Sade. There you go.
Oh, now that would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could vibe to that. All right, that's going to do it for this hour of BNC Prime Weekend. Stay with us. We have more news, weather, sports, and programming coming up. Stay with us.